Ethan had always believed that life followed rules. Numbers, logic, and patterns were the foundation of his existence. He worked as a systems engineer for a research company, studying alien signal patterns that no one else in the city even knew existed. It was a quiet life, simple and predictable. Yet in the past 2 weeks, everything that Ethan believed to be true had started to crumble. Every night, without fail, something inexplicable happened in his small apartment. It began subtly. At first, it was just a scent, a sweet, almost floral aroma, mixed with something sharp and metallic like ozone after a thunderstorm. He would wake up in the middle of the night, the smell strong in the air, but find nothing unusual. He checked the windows, the doors, even the vents. Everything was exactly as it should be. The first night, he assumed it was a dream. The second night, he was less sure. By the third night, Ethan began to feel an uneasy curiosity. He tried to rationalize. Perhaps the smell came from a plant in the building's lobby, carried up by the vent system. Maybe a neighbor was using some exotic perfume, but nothing explained the subtle warmth that lingered in the air after the scent appeared, or the faint flicker of lights that always seemed to coincide with it. And then came the marks. At first they were small. A slight indentation on his bed, as though someone had sat or leaned there, a footprint in the dust by the windowsill. Objects slightly moved from where he had placed them. He started keeping a log, writing every observation in a notebook he carried everywhere. He even set up a small recording device by the bed, the kind used to capture audio and motion for security purposes. The fourth night, Ethan was ready. He pretended to sleep, watching the sensor light blink quietly in the dark. Time seemed to stretch infinitely. Then around 2:03 a.m. the room changed. A pulse of blue light filled the space, soft but sharp, like looking through water illuminated by the moon. Ethan's eyes opened wide, but he could hardly believe what he was seeing. She was there. A woman, or something that resembled a woman, stood at the edge of his bed. Her body shimmered like molten starlight, her form solid yet transparent in places. Her hair flowed as if underwater, moving without a single breeze. Her eyes were a deep, endless black, flecked with faint glimmers of white, as though the universe itself resided within them. Ethan's heart raced, but he did not scream. There was no malice in her presence, only a quiet, unspoken curiosity. She did not speak, at least not in words Ethan could understand. Yet when she moved closer, the scent intensified, enveloping him like a warm embrace. It was intoxicating but not overpowering, comforting yet alien. He felt a strange pull toward her, a mixture of fascination and fear. Then as suddenly as she had appeared, she vanished. Ethan sat up, breathing heavily. The recording device's light blinked, but when he played the footage back the next morning, the screen was corrupted. Only fragments remained, a flash of blue, a shadow moving across the floor, and a faint voice whispering his name. No one else could have accessed his room. No logical explanation fit. Night after night, she returned. Ethan began to anticipate her arrival, waiting with a mixture of dread and excitement. He spoke to her in whispers, telling her about his work, the world outside, and the quiet loneliness of being human. He told her about the stars, about the planets he had only seen through telescopes and satellite feeds. Sometimes he would fall asleep mid-sentence, waking hours later to find the faint scent lingering in his room, proof that she had been there. By the sixth night, Ethan noticed a subtle change. Her appearances grew longer, and he could almost feel her emotions as she moved through his room. She seemed drawn to certain objects, the worn notebook on his desk, the stack of books on human psychology, even the small, dusty guitar he had not touched in years. Each night the connection between them strengthened, silent but undeniable. It was on the seventh night that she spoke. Ethan had just returned from work, exhausted, and lay down as usual, pretending to sleep while his senses strained to detect her arrival. The pulse of blue light came, filling the room, and this time she did not hesitate. She stepped forward, fully materialized, and looked directly at him. "You can hear me now," she said, her voice trembling slightly like radio static woven with warmth. "I am not supposed to be here, but I can't stop coming back." Ethan froze. He wanted to ask questions, but his voice caught in his throat. All he could do was watch as her form shimmered in the dim light. He noticed details he hadn't seen before, the way her skin seemed to refract light like tiny fragments of glass, the faint hum that radiated from her body, as though she were made of vibrating energy, the delicate, almost imperceptible pulse of warmth that mirrored his own heartbeat. He finally managed to whisper, "Who? What are you?" She tilted her head, studying him. "I am Lyra," she said. "I come from a place far beyond your stars. I am not fully here. My existence is bound to a field that should never have reached your world." Ethan's mind raced. He had read about energy transference anomalies, about beings accidentally projected through unstable teleportation fields, but he had never imagined he would encounter one. Why my room?" he asked. Lyra's eyes softened. "I do not know why I am drawn to you. Perhaps something in your mind, in your patterns, resonates with mine. Perhaps it is fate. But every time I come, I feel alive." For hours, Ethan spoke with her. He told her about his life, about being alone in a world full of people yet feeling disconnected. He asked questions about her home, her existence, and the strange energy that bound her to his room. Lyra did not give full answers, but she shared glimpses, images in his mind, memories of a world made of light and sound, of skies that shimmered in colors he could not name, of cities built on energy currents and floating landscapes. As dawn approached, she began to fade. Ethan reached out instinctively, but his hand passed through her form. Her voice lingered in the room. "Do not forget me. Ethan, I will return." And then she was gone, leaving behind only the scent, stronger than ever, lingering in every corner of the small apartment. The next day, Ethan researched everything he could about teleportation anomalies, quantum entanglement, and energy-based life forms. He tried to find any reference to beings like Lyra, but nothing matched. He even questioned his own sanity. Could it be a hallucination? A side effect of long nights and stress? Every rational thought clashed with the undeniable proof in his room. The faint glowing marks, the lingering scent, the recordings corrupted by inexplicable interference. That night, he prepared again. He rearranged the room, set up multiple sensors, and even placed a simple containment frame, a small cube of advanced field sensors, to try to trap or observe her presence. When she appeared, she moved around the room with curiosity. She examined the sensors, the lights, even the small cube. Her eyes flickered with something that resembled amusement, though it was hard to tell. Ethan dared to speak. "Lyra, I want to help you. I want to understand you, can I?" For a moment she remained still. Then she leaned closer, her face inches from his. Her form radiated warmth, and he felt a strange sense of connection, like their thoughts brushed against each other. "Perhaps," she whispered, "but you must be careful. Every time I come, it costs me something. I am not meant to exist here for long. You may help, but it is dangerous for both of us." Ethan's heart pounded, but he nodded. "I don't care about danger. I want to know you. I want to help you stay." Lyra's form shimmered again, brighter this time, almost as if she were smiling. "Then we will try," she said before fading once more, leaving behind her haunting scent. Ethan could almost feel her presence lingering, stretching out across the room, as if she had left a piece of herself behind. Night after night, he continued his experiments, studying the patterns of her appearances, recording her form, and slowly, cautiously learning to communicate. The world outside remained ordinary and mundane, but inside his small apartment, Ethan had found something extraordinary, a being from beyond the stars who had chosen to enter his life, leaving traces of light, warmth, and a scent he would never forget. By the end of the second week, Ethan began to realize that his life had changed irreversibly. He was no longer alone, and whatever the future held, whatever dangers or mysteries awaited, they would face them together. The nights grew longer, and Ethan's fascination with Lyra grew into something deeper. He no longer thought of her as a strange visitor. She had become a presence he could not imagine his life without. Yet with every appearance, he noticed the toll it took on her. Lyra's shimmering form would sometimes flicker, her glow dimming for moments longer than before. Her visits left her weaker, as though staying near him drained the very energy that kept her alive. Ethan could not let her suffer. He had spent days reading, researching, and experimenting with every device he had in his small apartment. He tried to understand the field that brought her here, and the energy signature that tethered her to his world. His hands trembled as he adjusted the settings on a complex array of signal amplifiers and quantum stabilizers. The goal was simple yet terrifying: stabilize her presence so she could exist in his world without fading. That night, Ethan prepared for something unprecedented. The room was filled with equipment humming softly, lights blinking in sync with the energy readings. He double-checked the sensors, making sure everything was in place. When the familiar pulse of blue light appeared, Lyra stepped forward, her form slightly transparent as usual. But this time there was hesitation in her movement, a flicker of fear in her eyes. "I've been trying," Ethan said quietly, not wanting to startle her. "I think I can help you stay, Lyra, but I need you to trust me." Lyra tilted her head, the light in her eyes wavering like a candle in the wind. "You don't know what it will cost," she whispered. "If I remain too long, I could disappear completely." "I know," Ethan replied firmly, "but I'll take the risk with you. You're not alone anymore." For a long moment she remained still, studying him. Then she moved closer, brushing the edge of his hand with her own. The sensation was impossible. Warm, almost tangible, yet soft and vibrating like a thread of light touching his skin. The room hummed with energy as the devices Ethan had set up began to resonate, amplifying the field that connected them. As he activated the stabilizers fully, the room was bathed in a soft glow, brighter than ever before. Lyra's form solidified slowly, becoming more real, more human with every second. Ethan held his breath, watching as the shimmer that made her ethereal began to settle into something more tangible. "I feel it," she whispered, her voice filled with awe. "I can touch. I can breathe." Her eyes met his, and for the first time she looked at him with something more than curiosity. Gratitude, fear, and a strange form of hope. But the relief was short-lived. A sudden surge of energy erupted from the devices, causing alarms to blare and lights to flicker violently. The room shook and Ethan felt a wave of heat as the energy field destabilized. Lyra cried out, clutching at him, her form flickering dangerously. "I can't hold it," she shouted. "The connection is too strong. You have to stop." Ethan's mind raced. He could shut down the devices, but doing so would sever the connection abruptly, risking her life. He looked into Lyra's eyes, seeing trust and fear intertwined. Taking a deep breath, he focused on the readings, adjusting the quantum amplifiers with steady hands. He whispered, "Hold on, Lyra, I'm not leaving you." The energy surged again, brighter and more violent than before, but Ethan's adjustments began to stabilize the field. Slowly, Lyra's form solidified fully. She gasped, taking her first real breath in his world. The blue light around her softened into a warm glow that filled the room. Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Lyra looked around, touching objects for the first time. The edges of the desk, the books, the small guitar, they all felt real beneath her fingers. She smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that made Ethan's chest tighten. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Your world? It's beautiful." Ethan felt tears in his eyes. "It's yours now too, Lyra, you're here. You're real." For several nights everything remained stable. Lyra moved freely in his room, exploring, learning, and even laughing at simple human things. A squeaky hinge, the way sunlight hit his bookshelf, the faint hum of his old computer. Ethan found himself falling deeper into a bond he could not explain, a connection that went beyond words or logic. But there was an underlying danger they could not ignore. Lyra's energy signature was still tied to her home system, and the longer she remained, the more unstable her existence became. Ethan knew they had limited time before the strain became irreversible. They had to find a permanent solution. Ethan spent days analyzing the quantum transference signals she emitted, running simulations, and designing a containment matrix that could allow her to exist safely. It was a delicate process. Any error could result in her losing form entirely. Lyra assisted in her own way, sending pulses of energy that Ethan could decode into information about her biology and physics. It was slow work, but it deepened their understanding of each other. One night, as they worked together, Lyra paused and looked at Ethan with intensity. "Why do you care so much for me?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. "I am not human. I am different." "You could leave me behind any time." Ethan smiled faintly. "I don't care if you're different. I care because you exist. Because you're here, and I've never met anyone like you." Her eyes shimmered, brighter than the stars outside his window. "You make me feel alive, Ethan. Not just in your world, but in mine as well. I never imagined a human could feel like this." That night, they shared more than conversation, they shared presence. Ethan reached out, and this time Lyra allowed him to hold her hand fully. Her form was warm, and her pulse matched his heartbeat. For the first time, Ethan truly believed that love, or something like it, could exist between beings from entirely different worlds. The next day, they finalized the containment matrix. Ethan adjusted every parameter carefully, connecting the device to the building's main energy grid to provide the necessary power. Lyra stood beside him, her form steady and glowing, trusting him completely. When he activated it, the room filled with a brilliant light, brighter than any night sky. Ethan felt a surge of energy wash over him, but he held his ground. Lyra's form solidified completely, every flicker gone. She looked around, touching objects, breathing and smiling. "It's perfect," she whispered. "I can exist fully because of you." Ethan smiled back, relief flooding him. "No, Lyra, we did it together." For several weeks, their lives settled into an unusual but harmonious rhythm. Lyra explored the city, fascinated by human technology, art, and culture. She laughed at mundane things with childlike wonder and marveled at humanity's small achievements. Ethan watched her, feeling pride and love for this being who had come from the stars to his world. But their peace was fragile. The quantum link still tethered her to her home system. A message arrived through a signal Ethan barely understood, a faint pulse that Lyra recognized instantly. "They know where I am," she whispered. "If they trace the energy, they will come." "And I cannot hide." Ethan held her hand tightly. "Then we'll face them together. I don't care who or what comes." The nights that followed were tense. Ethan fortified their apartment with makeshift shielding, adjusting energy dampeners and recalibrating the containment field constantly. Lyra helped, though she was growing weaker with each strain of energy required to stabilize her presence. But every challenge only strengthened their bond. They were no longer just a human and an alien. They were partners connected by trust, courage, and the inexplicable pull of destiny. One night, as the city slept, Ethan noticed a subtle shift in Lyra's energy signature. Her glow flickered, faster and more erratically than before. "Something's coming," she whispered. "They're close." Ethan adjusted the devices frantically, sweat on his brow. "We'll be ready," he said, though doubt gnawed at him. He had never faced anything like this, and yet he refused to let fear control him. As the first pulse of energy outside their room hit the building, Lyra braced herself. She looked at Ethan, her eyes filled with trust and something deeper. Fear, yes, but also determination. "Stay with me," she said. Ethan nodded. "Always." The light from the pulse entered the room, and for a moment time seemed to freeze. Ethan felt the energy push against them both, but their combined presence, the human determination and the alien light, held. The energy dissipated, leaving only the lingering glow of Lyra's form. They had survived. Lyra collapsed into Ethan's arms, exhausted but alive. "You saved me again," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan kissed her forehead gently. "No, we saved each other." For the first time, Ethan felt a sense of completion in his life. He was no longer just a man of logic living a predictable life. He had found something extraordinary, a connection that defied reason, distance, and species. Lyra, the alien who had entered his room night after night, leaving her scent behind, was now a part of his world, real, tangible, and alive. The nights that followed were quiet, but full of wonder. Lyra no longer disappeared. She moved freely in his apartment, learning, laughing, and sharing life with Ethan. They watched the stars together, feeling the pull of distant worlds, but also the comfort of being together. And though the universe remained vast and unpredictable, Ethan knew one truth: no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. The alien who had come into his life uninvited, leaving only scent and mystery, had become his companion, his partner, and perhaps in ways he never imagined, his heart.